Hey there. Today I want to talk about the difference between static and headless when we're talking about WordPress. This right here is a static website. You'll notice that when I click on this article, it loads really, really fast. That's static. It's basically loading HTML. When I come back to this area and I click on it again, boom, loads right up. Static means we've taken WordPress and we've pulled all of it and turned it into HTML. Now, HTML doesn't mean it has to be just text, right? Depending on what solutions you're using to convert it to static or to convert it to HTML, you can still have click to tweets, you can still have images, you can even have the drop-in of a form at the bottom specifically for email subscriptions because these are embeds. So static gives you super speed. It also gives you another level of security because it's HTML. There is no PHP processing. So there is nothing here that someone could attack. There's no way to break into it. It's just text. Now, you'll notice over here it says My Books, and there's a buy button, right? What is happening here is there's Snipcart, which is one of several solutions that lets you still do e-commerce on static. So that's super interesting, right? Because you're like, oh, it loads up just like regular static, but when I click the button, it pops open a window and then it goes and makes the call. So static is all about speed. It's all about security. It is great for blogs. It is great for plain text. It's great with photos. But if you have a whole bunch of plugins that are doing fancy things to your site, static's going to be a little bit harder to handle because not every plugin will translate to converting your website to HTML. That's static. Speed, security, right? So what is headless? Well, in the static world, WordPress goes dormant when you generate the HTML. You're no longer ever using that WordPress when viewers are looking at the HTML. Headless is different. Headless, they may be playing with a completely different head, or in this case, a React or JavaScript front end, but the WordPress, and in this case, WooCommerce, is still in the background. So at this website, for example, when I click on this, it's going to load fast because this is all JavaScript, right? And you'll notice when I click this large, it's running back. And you saw how fast that was. It's running back to WooCommerce, which is still over there, to check inventory, and it comes back and says it's in stock. And when I hit add to cart, I'm not actually hitting a WooCommerce cart. I'm literally hitting a JavaScript cart. So this is right here. And in fact, this is sitting in the browser's session. So it's only when I click checkout. Now notice this says Rudis.com. When I go to checkout, it's going to take that session and it's going to bring it to core.rudis.com. This is actually WooCommerce, right? How do I know? If I click back on the cart, it's not taking me to the JavaScript cart. It's actually taking me to the WooCommerce cart. So when would you use something like this? Well, when you say, I want WooCommerce to sit there, but I have really high demand, so I want most of the traffic to be hitting this super fast, lightweight head, which is in JavaScript, and the WooCommerce is going to stay headless, and then they'll interact via an API, and when they finally go to checkout, I'll bring them to the WooCommerce instance. You can get a lot more people navigating this. Hundreds of thousands of people can come in a given day and do shopping, and the only hit that the actual store takes is when they land on checkout. Everything else is being done on a separate and removed piece, right? So headless is about being able to separate the front end from the back end and doing whatever you want and allowing that to scale and changing the interaction model over there, but still having a callback. So WordPress, and in this case WooCommerce, has to still be active. It has to be sitting there. Whereas in static, it can be dormant. It can just sit there on the side and not do anything because no one's ever reaching it. People are just hitting your static HTML. Now, what does this do? Well, it sure gives us speed. You saw that. It also gives us scalability, and it gives us some opportunities to redesign what we want the front end to be. If we have a crazy interface we want to produce for customers, we can do that and not be constrained at all with how WordPress works. So static and headless both leverage WordPress, but they do it in different ways for slightly different reasons.